For the last several weeks, the nation watched the trial of the man who committed the Waukesha massacre, Darrell Brooks, who chose to defend himself in court despite overwhelming evidence against him. He attacked his victims, many of whom were dead. He claimed it was an act of God and finally closed by arguing that the court lacked jurisdiction over the case. His arguments ranged from the appalling to the ridiculous. Well, in the waning days of the 2022 midterms, Democrats across the country appear to have taken a page out of his playbook. They've given Americans perhaps the most bizarre closing argument to an election they have ever seen. At the White House, the president, in an interview with a man who thinks that he's a little girl and dresses like one, endorsed the mutilation and sterilization of children using puberty blockers and gender transition surgery. In the same interview, he falsely claimed his student loan welfare scheme was passed by Congress. It wasn't. This week, the president also suggested that the size of airline seats was racist. The Pentagon announced that taxpayers will foot the bill for service members who need to travel for abortions. In New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, during her one and only debate with her rising opponent, Congressman Lee Zeldin, asked out loud why crime mattered so much. And as if that wasn't ridiculous enough, she also then backed masking kids again this flu season, saying that masks were cute and kids like them. Not to be outdone, Democrat Mayor Eric Adams doubled down on firing nearly 1,500 city cops, teachers, and other workers by appealing a state Supreme Court ruling tossing out the city's nonsensical vaccine mandate. In Oklahoma, Democrat gubernatorial candidate Joy Hoffmeister came out against school choice programs, despite the fact that she went to a private school. When faced with the wrath of the teachers' unions, blatant hypocrisy is apparently no big deal. Test scores are in the tank nationwide. Parents are outraged, and Democrats from coast to coast, along with deep staters like Dr. Fauci, are trying now to rewrite history, saying they had nothing to do with extended school closures. In Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz gets an F for claiming 80% of his state students missed less than 10 days of school during the entire pandemic, even though they were in school less than half of the entire 2020-2021 school year. Apparently, history is as fungible as gender these days. To make schools better, in the Solution in Search of a Problem department, Vice President Kamala Harris announced a $1 billion initiative to buy electric school buses. Who that motivates to the polls is about as much of a mystery as how her speechwriter keeps his job. After a disastrous debate performance in Pennsylvania that began with him wishing everyone good night and got worse from there, Senate candidate John Fetterman has refused to back off his leftist positions that protect criminals. He's even recently campaigned with Democrats who openly supported the Defund the Police movement. In New Hampshire, Senator Maggie Hassan, she dug deep into the ancient liberal playbook of accusing her opponent, two-time Purple Heart recipient General Don Bolduc, of threatening Social Security and Medicaid. She's chosen that approach over trying to tell Granite State voters how she'd reduce energy prices that are spiking 30 to 50% in New England this winter. Then there's Pete Buy an Electric Car Buttigieg, who said in an interview this week that human drivers are, quote, murderous, and said that we should promote self-driving cars. Okay, Pete. Of course, Democrats apparently also think that taxpayer-funded late-term abortion on demand is top of mind for voters. Candidates have doubled down on an abortion policy akin to that of communist China. They continue to stay silent or even promote drag shows for kids, pornography in school libraries, and boys playing on girls' sports teams. Their obsession with upending societal norms is very unpopular with Latinos, yet there is no movement from national Democrats away from the radical agenda. This week, Republican Congresswoman Mayra Flores' membership in the Congressional Latino Caucus was rejected because apparently Speaker Pelosi's apparatchiks believe you can't possibly be a Republican and a Latino at the same time. Transparent obfuscation and a staggering disconnect with the public have become the calling card of the Democrat Party in 2022. Instead of focusing on issues Americans actually care about, they continue to rely on a perverse combination of distraction and incompetence, just as Mr. Brooks did in his criminal trial. And just as Mr. Brooks' courtroom theatrics failed to impress the jury, the Democrats' attempts at changing the narrative and their bizarre closing argument will likely lead to a stinging verdict from the American people this November 8th.
No crooked establishment.
None of that twisting the truth.
No talking down to me.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
Don't tell me how to think.
I trust Newsmax.
Newsmax.
They don't tell me how to think.
They let
me decide.
Newsmax.
Real news
For real people.